Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Rivers West by Louis L'Amour. This is book number 1 in his Talon trilogy. This is a trilogy of books he wrote about the Talon family. Kind of ties in a little bit to the Sackett family that he wrote about. But these are the 3 books: Rivers West, The Man from Broken Hills, and Milo Talon. So let's talk about the covers first. It's a great cover by Gordon Crabb. This came out in 1975. I imagine this cover was done in the mid-90s because that's when Gordon Crabb was sort of doing a lot of the Louis L'Amour covers. This is the book number 2. God damn. Book number 2 was also got a cover from Gordon Crabb, The Man from Broken Hills, and book number 3, which ended up on the floor here. I'll pick it. I'll edit this part out. Book number 3 has a good cover too. Milo Talon. Anyway, we're only reviewing book number 1 though right now. Rivers West. Let's see. Starts out in the early 1800s. It's a little pre-Western. It's not like a real Western. It's more of a pre-Western. Starts up in Canada, you know, and this in the main character Talon wants to leave Canada and he wants to travel down to New Orleans, which is what he does. He's gonna marry. Well, he doesn't really want to. He's sort of forced to because his girlfriend dumps him. Okay, so his girlfriend comes up to him with this proposition. Hey, there's this very rich guy in town who wants to marry me. If I marry this guy, my life is gonna be on easy street. I think he's a little creepy, but I'm going to marry him for the money. And unless you can find the buried pirate treasure that is legend in your family, because the Talons tell the legend of the buried pirate treasure and how it's going to make them all rich someday. And she's like, if you can find the buried pirate treasure, and then I will marry you because you will be rich. I need a sugar daddy is basically what she's saying. And as I was reading that part of the book, it reminded me of a heartbreak of my own that happened about the same way. I mean, there was this girl that I was going out with. She had a very, very wealthy friend, older friend, I will say, that she always complained about. She'd always complain about him. Oh, he's so creepy. He sends me weird gifts. He does creepy things. He writes me weird poems. He stalks me. He does all these things. But he's rich, you know. Oh my gosh, he's got so much. I mean, he's like a millionaire. And I'm like, yeah, well, sounds like, yeah, he's a creep, you know. I mean, maybe you shouldn't be friends with him. Well, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess who she's married to now? Not me. Creepy rich guy, right? And anyway, I'm like, okay, I'm a little heartbroken about this. You know, she tells me, hey, I'm going to marry so-and-so. I'm going to start dating so-and-so because, you know, of the money. And, you know, I mean, the money. I mean, who? And I was thinking to myself, you know, I mean, dude does got a lot of money. I mean, I was thinking, man, I kind of get it, but I don't. I mean, I'm like, whatever. And then I'm at work one day. I'm at work at a lot of you know I work at the state prison. I'm at work one day at the state prison. I'm kind of moping around, and a lot of the nurses that work in the infirmary that I'm friends with, they see me moping around, and they're like, what's wrong? And I'm like, well, the girl I'm dating, she kind of dumped me for this rich guy who's going to buy her a house and take her on all these wonderful vacations. And those nurses were like, oh, really? Good for her. I was like, what? That's not helping me. And they're like, oh, no, good for her. I mean, if she would have been in the room, those nurses would have been high-fiving her. Oh. Now I'm still friends with everybody involved. The girl made the right decision. I mean, my God, her life is like, oh, holy shit. I should have married that guy. I should have married that guy. Okay, so let's get back to the book. So our main man Talon, his girlfriend dumps him. He's like, well, fuck this place. And he heads off to New Orleans. And as he's going to New Orleans, he gets, he pulls, there's a guy that's been stabbed, and he pulls the guy from the quicksand, from the swampy quicksand. And the guy dies, but before he dies, he's like, the guy who killed me is Baron Tourville. So now Baron Tourville is the bad guy in this story. And then Talon meets up with another guy named Jambé Dubois. He's like this big peg-legged pirate-looking guy. Hey, we're looking for pirate treasure. Well, who better to tell us where it is than the big peg-legged pirate-looking guy? And so then we go off on this adventure because now he's like, hey, maybe I should find the pirate treasure. So anyway, let's read I did a real crapola job of describing this book. Let me just read the back. A dream and a deadly conspiracy. He came from a family of pirates and seafarers from Quebec. His dream was to build magnificent steamboats to ply the rivers of the American frontier. But Jean Talon began his journey westward. He stumbled upon a deadly conspiracy involving a young woman's search for her missing brother and a ruthless band of renegades. Led by the brazen Baron Tourville, this makeshift army of renegades and opportunists is plotting a violent takeover of the Louisiana territory. They mean to set up their own independent sovereignty, and they have the men and the weapons to pull it off. But Jean Talon swears to find a way to stop this daring plan. If he doesn't, it will not only put an end to all his dreams, it will change the course of history and destroy the promise of the American frontier. So that stuff, plus all the other stuff I talked about, happened in the book. I actually really liked this. I thought it was a great adventure. It's actually a pirate adventure, more so than what it says on the back. I give the first book in the Talon trilogy, and we will get to the other two soon. I give this a good 8.0 out of 10. Great Western, well, pre-Western. Kind of like a tweener Revolutionary War, Civil War book. Rivers West,